I'm Leigh Brown. This is Crazy Shit in Real Estate. And today we've got a Canadian friend with us. We've got Melanie Bajrovic, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about how she went from a 22-year-old with her first investment property to a whole life as the Wealthy Barmaid. So if you're curious about bars or real estate, this is an interesting lady to listen to. Enjoy the conversation, and I'll see you on the other side. You're listening to Crazy Shit in Real Estate. You'll be amazed at all these wild but true situations that others have found themselves in. Because on this show, you'll hear uncensored, unbelievable stories from the world of real estate. I'm Leigh Brown. Let's dive right in. Before you get the rest of the story, I'd love to share a quick message from today's sponsor. If you've never heard of Follow Up Boss, you're going to love it. And it's going to get you organized in a way that will actually impact your business for profitability and for better excellence with those you're serving. For more information, go to followupboss.com/crazy. Melanie, since you do have a nice decorated background, tell us where you're decorated, where you're located, what you do in and around real estate, and then we'll kind of dig into some stories a little bit.
Sure. So I'm from Niagra Falls, Canada, born and raised here. A funny joke I like to tell people, if you like the color gray, you love it here. A lot of overcast, a lot of bad winters, but we make it through. It makes us stronger as Canadians, I think. It is now, around Christmas time, 2022. I do all of my own decorating myself. I should walk around with the computer and show you. I'm so proud of it. But I love anything that sparkles, anything that glitters, and Christmas time is the time for all of that. The lighting, the soft lighting. I love the mood lighting. So I've even been hired from people to do their homes and hotels.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and like hotels, because I just drive by some of these places. I'm like, oh my God, who did the tree? Like, it's a real hotel. It's a really fancy place or whatever, and they've got like this dumb tree with a couple of freaking red bows on it. I'm like,
what are we doing here? Do it halfway, right? Don't just do it halfway.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to them, So anyway, I love the holidays for that reason. And I'll get into a new business venture that is also glitz and glam that attracted me to it.
So funny, you talk about being a serial entrepreneur. I didn't expect it to veer off into decorating for Christmas. And now I know all of my listeners and viewers are probably all hiding their pictures of their Christmas or fixing to post it so they can show us what they've done or be embarrassed. Now we're all being judged by Melanie when she drives by your property and sees your tree. It better be done correctly. All right. So what do you do in and around real estate? Tell us a little bit about what's happening on the Canadian world of Melanie.
Okay, well, I started investing when I was 22 years old. So it's an interesting thing. I started working when I was 12 years old because my parents are from the former Yugoslavia. Child slave labor is like a total thing, right? So I was literally 12 years old. My family was in the bar industry. I'd be working in the kitchen, and then they bought another place. That's where I started hostessing, waitressing, bartending, and then managing. I worked for them for about 15 years. All the while, I saved my money. My mother, I didn't start even getting paid till like 16 or 17 years old. But once I did start getting paid, my mother kept all my paychecks aside. And I also kept a portion of those tips because I lived with them. And believe me, that was a sacrifice. I lived with them for a while until I was 27. So, and in our culture, that's very normal. It's normal to stay with the family until you're married off and you go, but I just left because it was enough. Anyway, so by the time I was 22, I was able to buy my first rental property. I still have it. It's my favorite purchase still to this day. Yeah. It was, I don't know if you guys do pictures or anything, but, I have like me and my grandma and my mother like scraping. There was 17 layers of tile or laminate, and the wallpaper, because this family had it for like 84 years in the generational family. So, they didn't do upgrades. So I completely ended up going to the studs on that house and renovating it, hardwood floors, drywall, the whole bit. So it's beautiful. Even though it was like such a shit box. I don't know how much I'm allowed to swear, by the way.
Well, the show is called Crazy Shit in Real Estate. Therefore, we already have a little explicit E, so you're safe. I just don't use the C word. I think it's ugly. I don't use GD because the Bible says not to. And the F word, I think, is a little bit lazy sometimes. So anything else.
It adds emphasis sometimes, though. Anyway.
It does. But only when used judiciously. The people who use it in every other word,
Yeah, no.
Except for David Goggins, he can do whatever he wants because he's totally my crush. So he can say whatever he wants to say.
Oh, funny. So anyway, I renovated that one. I rented it out, and then I did the slow and painful method. And it's probably stupid, but I did what I did. Kept working, saved up enough money, bought another house. Kept working, saved up enough money, bought another house. And I had to do renos to these places. They weren't very fancy. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got started. That's how I started my portfolio. Then I was kind of like, I was still working for my parents. I'm like, you know what? Like, I need a change. I went to Serbia, hometown, still have cousins there. And I spent 4 months there thinking, like, what the hell is my next step? What am I going to do? I'm not working for my parents anymore. Absolutely not. I'm not working for anyone else. So now what do I do? The only thing I could come up with at the time, because it was the only thing I know super duper well, the ins and outs, is because it was the bar industry. My parents, they used to leave all the time, go back home, go to Croatia, go to Bosnia, go to Serbia, and I would be running the entire show. So I knew business from 12 years old, this business. So I decided to start a bar, and that was my first commercial property that I purchased. Huge game changer.
Okay, so hang a minute. So you're opening a competing business to your parents? Are we in the same geographical area?
Not quite. We are in the Niagara region, but our region is huge. So they were in Thorold and Port Colborne, and I'm over here in St. Catharines.
But you weren't on like the other corner over here, face off with mom and dad, because that'd be bad for the family. But so in this venture, though, you didn't go out and lease a space for your bar. You went all in and bought the building?
Exactly. So it was the scariest decision I'd ever made in my entire life. I lost so much sleep. Can I do this? Then I'm going over the numbers. I went there every single day and night to scout and to literally count, like, okay, how many beers do they sell? How many of this do they sell? How much? And I'm like calculating all of that, what the sales were roughly before diving in, because, if it was really, really bad, it wouldn't have been a great deal. Another benefit, though, always when there's trouble, there's opportunity for us as realtors and stuff to make money. And the couple was just having I don't know what, the business went completely downhill. The beer store wasn't even allowing them to buy beer anymore on license. You have to buy that stuff on license. And they were just drowning really fast, getting a divorce. Shit was really hitting the fan over there. So it was like, bingo, light bulb, here's an opportunity. And my uncle is one of my mother's brother. He's one of my best trusted advisors. He's super duper duper successful, and especially with financing and stuff. So I'm like, okay, how can we make this work? And we did a really funky financing deal where I hardly had to put as much down as you'd think. On commercial property, you're talking 30 to 50% down payment if you're doing it traditionally, right? So we packaged it in a way that I used all my other properties as leverage and collateral. And I ended up walking in with roughly $50,000, which is insane. It was $550,000 at the time. And bottom line, that just shot my net worth up right away. Commercial property, especially where I'm from, it appreciates a lot faster than any residential does. And I started my own restaurant bar out of that. So completely changed the name, got rid of everything else that those people had. And I started my own bar, and I didn't sleep for probably 3 years. I was there, open to close, jumping in, helping everything. It was such a huge operation. It's a 5,000 square foot place, capacity 200 people. We had crazy dinners. So I have a full kitchen staff. I have so many supplies. I had altogether 25 employees. I had bands on 4 nights out of 7, and then plus a karaoke night or a trivia night or something else. And it was just so much. And I always just wish I could, duplicate myself. I wish I could clone myself. I could get so much more done, because every day, not only are you dealing with just everything in general, your staff and their issues and their availability and scheduling, and then product supplies, blah, blah, blah. And then dealing with customers and dealing with stealing. Theft is a huge thing in my industry and the bar.
You can't scale when you're working in that business every day. So I guess you were seeing the future was a little bleak if you didn't do something different.
It was hard, yeah. So on top of just running the bar, you need a whole subsection, you need a department that does all the marketing. And okay, what are we going to do for marketing and where and social and what new events? How are we going to fill seats? How do we fill more seats? Let's have this type of night, that type of night, this type, So It was a lot, but I don't regret it, any of it. That's not why I bring it up. I'm just sort of saying, in order to do what I did, and I increased the sales that these people had when I first started the bar. I increased sales by like 300% within a year and a half. So it was insane. I made it to above $1 million a year business, and I just really, though, near the end, not just near the end, I hated the bar industry probably because I started working there when I was 12. And to be honest, I've always hated it. And so it was just finally a tipping point of like, I'm out, I'm getting out, and this is it. And thank God I found a wicked guy to be my tenant, knows his stuff. Because in the bar industry, I could like sell it to you right now, Leigh, but you know what? You're going to go under in a week and then I'm screwed, right? So it's super duper important. It was to find somebody who knows what they're doing, knows their shit. And he already had a few restaurant bars in the past, still has one. He's a go-getter, he's a hustler, and he knows what's going on in the industry. So, and he's freaking awesome. We feel like family.
So was your goal to get him in so you could focus on real estate? Because let's get back to the real estate side for my audience here, because they're dying to hear about the investments.
Good. So I was always still buying properties, even while I was running the bar. However, since I sold the bar, I've acquired 3 more properties. So that's only in a year and a half.
Commercial or residential, or do you mix it up now?
Another commercial. So now I have 2 commercial, and I bought 1 more residential, and I bought an Airbnb. However, I'd love to tell you about the Airbnb. I didn't buy it thinking it was going to be an Airbnb.
She means short-term rental, friends. That's just the phrase we all use. But of course, there's lots of other versions of short-term rentals out there, but it's kind of like Kleenex has become the word for it.
Yeah. Got you. Even though it is only on that site, but whatever. Actually, no, I put it on VRBO now. But anyway, so originally I was just visiting friends in some trailer park community near the beach where we're from. And it was just so freaking gross. And it was so like, they were spending like $6,000 a week to be there with their kids. And I'm like, you know what? This is brutal. And I spent a lot of time on the other side back in the day on the lake because I had a boyfriend that I was visiting all the time. It was his family home. Anyway, so I knew that part of the area really well, on the lake shore, on the water. And it just came to me like, I want to buy a lake house. I want to buy a lake house. I want to buy a beach house. So it wasn't for Airbnb. I just wanted a beach house, a lake house. So, okay. So I go, and that was a kick-ass deal too that I made. It was going for about $7.99 at the time, which is pretty reasonable for a huge lakefront property. I got them down to $6.75, plus they gave me a VTB. Your audience probably knows what that is, right? A vendor take back. No? Oh, okay.
No, probably not. So because it doesn't sound like something we have in the US. So what is that?
It might be just termed differently, but so a vendor take back is where they hold the mortgage for you.
Oh, we would just call that seller financing. So you just make it sound fancier than us.
Gotcha. So I ended up doing that seller financing with a down payment. They took me on for a year, interest only payments. And I did that. And then finally now I'm with a conventional bank and now it's all good. But it's just so interesting. I bought this place thinking, you know what? I just really want a freaking beach house. And me and my husband lived there for almost a year. Like the winters are super cool. There's also sunsets and oh my God. And it's all mirrored. And it's all like windows. So like from every part of the house. And I do a ton of mirrors. So you can see the lake from like every angle in this house. Long story short on that is I thought, let me just like try. I don't even know what came to me, why I would try to Airbnb. Maybe I heard, to do a short-term rental. Maybe someone had done it or something. So I'm like, oh, let's give this a shot. Turns out, unbelievable. This thing's doing over $150,000 in sales. One house, like absurd to me.
Some realtors do more business than others, and it's not just their great looks and their charm and amazing hair. It's their follow-up, y'all. People, on average, forget the marketing message after 16 days. Follow-up Boss will plug into the system you're using, and yes, they integrate with over 250 different programs to help you get organized with your past clients and with those neighbors that frankly should be your future clients. And if you go to followupboss.com/crazy, you get a 30-day free trial to go see how this works for your business. I can promise you, the people who forgot you didn't mean to, they want to hear from you. So go to followupboss.com/crazy, and you'll suddenly figure out why all these top producers in the market are getting more business. It has to do with organization and detail work, and you can get there too. Followupboss.com/crazy for your 30-day free trial. Check it out. Let me know how it goes for you. So you kind of got into the short-term rental by accident just because you bought a house and decided to try it?
Exactly. So, because I was like, you know what, this is too far. It really is. Like for day to day, it's out of the city. It's total country. You'd have to plan your trip like once a day. Where are we going? If you're going that week, I got to do everything there. And then you come back because it's like a 50-minute drive, 50 minutes to the city. Let's call Niagra Falls, St. Catharines to,
But that's how people vacation now. Since COVID, they're looking for that more remote vacation, a little bit quieter off the grid. So there's an advantage to that.
Yeah, it was super successful. Like it is super successful. And like, it's like the highest grossing property I have out of everything else, completely unbeknownst to me, that would have happened. So that was a super.
In that short-term rental space, a lot of people are nervous getting into it because they don't know how much to charge or what to do. So what's the best advice you would give to somebody who found a property or they own something and they want to give it a shot?
Most likely you are not going to be the first one there doing this. So you just go online, you go on these short-term rental sites, look at comparable properties, see how many rooms, bedrooms, everything else that they have compared to you. Plus, these sites actually do have, for someone who really doesn't know what they're doing, they have help. They actually recommend you put this price, recommend that price. I never followed those because I was getting $1,000 a night. I am getting $1,000 per night. And they're always telling me like, maybe you should try 527. I'm like, no, I'm good because it's selling just fine.
It's always going to be a little bit of a guessing game because things move. Now, how do you handle the taking care of the property? Do you have a manager for that property or do you go drive out to it and put the linens in? And how do you handle that?
Well, I do have cleaners, of course. I hate cleaning. So even my own house, I don't clean my own house. I mean, everything's always tidy and in its place, but I'm not a cleaner. I hate it. So I definitely, yes, I have cleaners who do all the bedding and the linens and putting it all back and vacuuming, mopping, the whole bit. But I manage that property completely. So from the first contact point that comes in, hi, we're interested in blah, blah, whatever their story is. I respond back, oh, that sounds wonderful. It's a great place for that, or it isn't, depending on what they're saying in the message. And then I keep up communications with them through everything, whether it's the onboarding process, how they're going to get into the place, all the Wi-Fi, the info, everything they need to know. And then I've had those calls like, oh my God, we have no toilet paper. I have run up there and brought toilet paper. Oh my God, the TV remote has no batteries. I got no batteries there. So I go up and I bring the batteries. Luckily, my husband is a contractor, so he helps fix a lot of.
That's handy.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, the lock on the door is broken or the latch on the back isn't closing or whatever the case may be. I can't even remember some of the things right now, but he also, same thing, he drops what he's doing, he goes. So I always look at this with real estate and with all of the real estate, not just the short-term rental, but my long-term buy and holds, commercial, like you have to look at it as a business. If you look at it as a hobby, it's going to pay you as a hobby, like a hobby. Yeah. Okay. This is a business and you need to run it like a business. It drives me nuts when I see and hear gazillion stories of people saying, oh my God, I had this leak for 2 years. I had this, I had that. And, the landlord doesn't even call me back or they don't this, they don't that. Or even some of my own family members, I won't mention any names, but like someone tells you there's a problem and it's like, la-di-da, figure it out.
No, go fix it.
Exactly. With me, within 30 minutes of any problem that happens on any one of my properties, somebody is there on site fixing it at least, or assessing it in order to fix it, get the material, whatever it needs. This is a business, it's like treated as such. So that's a huge, huge, huge point, like that I would add value or hope that anyone who's in this game would please do. Like,
well, it's kind of like running the bar. If you aren't keeping an eye on stock and inventory, you start to have a lot of leakage and then your money's gone. And so it's the same thing on real estate. There's leakage in real estate. We just usually call it deferred maintenance. Although on a short-term rental, things can vanish from the house if you're not keeping an eye on it and if you're not properly vetting your guest. So now that you've figured out this is a great strategy for income, do you think that's where you'll go in the future, is towards more short-term rentals, or do you have a soft spot for your long-term rentals, or what's next for you as you start to expand your portfolio?
To be honest, now that I've had all three experiences, long-term buy and holds, my Airbnb and commercial, I want all three. I want to diversify with all three and keep going until I reach my goal of how much net worth I want to have and how much equity I want to have in real estate. So yeah, it's just a matter of now I search. What's one of my hobbies. I drive around, I look around, I see people over here. They haven't mowed their lawn in a year. Something's going on. I try to look into it, get into it. Commercial property, same thing. There's so many places just sitting there, but you know what? The only thing you can find is a numbered company. So then I go through my lawyers and I try to go through and find who is the president of that numbered company. I want to get in touch with them, see if they're willing to sell. I try not to wait until things are listed on the market, right? Because when you're going in and when you buy, that's how you make your money, right? It's not necessarily on the back end. It is on the back end too, but you make your money going in. So the goal would be not to buy once it's already listed, but that's why you have real estate agents. That's why you have people working with you alongside you on your team to be like, hey, I know these people, my previous clients, they're about to list. Why don't we go talk to them? Or I know this is going to come up for sale. That's going to come up for sale. That's where the gold is with real estate agents.
And I will just point out, like, there's some people that say, oh, but everything should always go on the market. But that's actually not true. There are some scenarios where the home is in such a disarray and the people are in a financial panic and it needs to go away. There's times when every realtor should have an investor in their back pocket to say, I've got a property over here that doesn't have the capacity to go on the market. I mean, maybe it's the showings, it could be a lot of things, but the investor can come provide a solution. So it's obviously not every property, but the kind you're looking for needs somebody to bail them out. And that's going to happen, especially as the economy gets a little rockier. There'll be more people that need somebody to come get them out of their property. So when you're looking at something, your real estate people have called you and said, got a property over here. It's a hot mess. It needs somebody to take it off their hands. And do you pay cash? Do you look for seller financing? Do you have a line of credit? What's your preferred method of financing? Because that's a big challenge for a lot of fresh investors to the game. They get really hung up on how you put the pieces together because it can be intimidating.
I agree with you. And I was the same too, thinking like, okay, the traditional banks aren't necessarily giving me money anymore because I have all these properties and my income is the properties. I have a couple of businesses as well, thank God, so that I'm able to eventually get in with a conventional bank. But jumping in, you might have to be creative with your financing. That's either using did you call it seller financing? Okay, or
vendor take back, So see, now we will go both ways on our vocabulary now.
Vendor take back, but you still need a down payment. The goal is cash is still king. So you got to have some down payment money. I've almost never seen deals with like zero down, zero this, zero that, and someone's making money. Like, doesn't usually exist.
It's been several years since we saw that.
Yeah. So, that doesn't happen. So that's where you need to use a B lender, perhaps. You guys also say the same thing. It's not your top-notch banks, B lenders, or private money after that, and so on. You might have to do that, but for a short period of time. Get in. If it's a matter of getting the house and not getting the house, I'd take the deal and get the house, use that money for as short term of it as a period that I can, and then try to get some other conventional money or a B lender that has a less rate, better terms, because you're going to spend a lot of money with private money, like giving points to the banker and all that kind of stuff. So that would be my advice. I don't know if I answered your question there about financing.
You did actually, because it's really parallel to the job market, where we all know it's easier to find a job when you have one.
Yeah.
And the same thing applies with real estate. It's easier to get somebody to refinance what you already have than it is to find new money sometimes. And one of my clients did the same thing. She wanted to buy a commercial building for her business, and the only money available to her, because she's a self-employed person, she doesn't have a regular paycheck coming in, even though she's successful. She got a hard money lender at a high interest rate. It was a 12-month note. It got her in the building. And as soon as she got in there and got the property upfitted and got some tenants, easy peasy to get any other bank to look at it because banks don't like risk.
Exactly.
And we actually like risk as investors to an extent. So the way you can look at it, friends, is you are actually absorbing a lot of that risk up front so that somebody else won't have to absorb it later, but then you're freed up to go do more things because you really got to be thinking about how you lever the money in the marketplace. It's not about getting extended like in crypto world. Let's just say none of us want to be Sam Bankman-Fried and stealing people's money. That's not what we're talking about. When we talk about levering money, we're saying you apply for the loan, and instead of putting every bit of cash you have in, you're going to start to use what you need, get something up and running, and then go pick up another property, knowing that you're providing housing for people, you're providing vacations, you're providing business locations. It's not just about owning the real estate. You're really helping the community by having more available space for lots of different reasons. So I want to go back to that first property before I let you go here. That one you said is still emotional. You still own it, where you got to scrape off all the linoleum and the wallpaper.
I did that in all of them, by the way, but yes.
But that one's kind of special. So tell us about the emotion of it, because I think it's interesting in real estate investing. We often just look at the numbers and we talk about net worth and growth, and we forget that there's this really weird undercurrent of emotion going on and how it feels to own that property. So talk to us a little bit about why it's hard to sell it, even if the property value's up, which I can only assume it's up significantly since you bought it.
Oh yeah. I've owned it for, 15 years now or something. So it's worth a heck of a lot more. We also are in Canada, we either are like stable or we rise with, like, we don't crash like you guys. Thank God we have a really conservative banking system in Canada.
I wouldn't say you haven't yet, because you never know, but traditionally you haven't.
Sure.
Don't be jinxing things, girl.
This property was, just because it was my first, I was working with my real estate agent, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was like my second father, and he taught me so much about real estate. He was on my agent on all of them until he passed away. And we went to see like 100 homes, I think, him and I, and he loved it. He didn't care. He lived like right across the street from my parents. So he would like pop over with ideas and whatever. I'd go over across the street to him, and we went everywhere. And for whatever reason, this was the one. I loved the location. I loved the spot. There was enough, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It was beautifully laid out. We did some demolition as well and made a sunroom, an extension, and all that stuff. But it's just, I don't know. It was my first house. It's just one of those when I look back and I go, you know what, Mel? Like, way to freaking go. Like, way to go. Everyone thought I was stupid. My whole family, by the way, every single decision I make, from all of my properties, all of them, to all of my businesses, to the new businesses, to everything that I'm doing, they all think I'm crazy, that, oh my God, how can she do that by herself? How could she do that? Like, and especially when I was starting my own business, like, you're going to fail, like everyone has a partner with them, their spouse or a partner or something else. And I did all of this, everything we've discussed today, by myself completely. And so even back then, I'm 22 years old and everyone's going like, God, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it just makes me feel so proud, because I was so freaking determined that I was never going to let anyone tell me ever again that I can do something, that I can't do something, that I can have something or I can't have something. I wanted to be completely financially independent. And that was that first step into jumping into where now I've got a really sizable net worth and cash flow and all this stuff where, like, no one's going to tell me what I'm going to do. Right. So that was like the beginning of that, I suppose. And it's sentimental because it's like, I'm so proud. Like, yes, you made that first step. Just like I'm so proud when I made that first commercial property deal. Like, you're just building my little empire, and that's why it's sentimental. And
it's fantastic, right? And often in life, when other people tell you you're crazy, it's the exact thing to do, because they just don't have the vision or the stomach to go take a risk. And if you don't take any risk, it's kind of hard to have any returns. So, Melanie, if anybody wants to chat further with you and find out about your journey and learn from your
books and courses,
your books and like all the stuff you have out there, what is the best way for them to find you?
I'm on all the social media, mainly Facebook and Instagram. My handle is The Wealthy Barmaid. You can also find me on my website, thewealthybarmaid.com. And yeah, I'm all over the internet. You can just Google my name too, Melanie Bajrovic. So please.
But none of y'all can spell that, so you'll look for the barmaid and you'll be fine. And then you'll look for Christmas lights and you'll find one of her side.
If you Google The Wealthy Barmaid, you should find me and it'll show you my name, how it's spelled. But please reach out, give me a note, give me a wink, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or ask me any questions that you guys, that I could bring value to your lives.
There you go. So if you're the person who's trying to figure out how to take those first steps and everybody else has told you no, good reason to connect with Melanie and get somebody to boost you up a little bit so you can take those first steps to whatever you want your empire to look like. Melanie, thank you so much for coming on the show with us and giving us a little bit of Canadian perspective. And frankly, I like the idea of the diversification of real estate, not just thinking about real estate as the diversifier, but all the things you've done are definitely an inspiration to a lot of people. And I can't wait to see who connects with you.
Thank you so much.
All right, people, say something nice about her in the comments. Make sure you follow up with her. All of her handles and contact information are in the show notes for this episode. So if you're sweating to the oldies, don't stress about it. You'll still be able to click and connect to Melanie. And I hope that you will find a way to your own future success. Melanie, we'll see you sometime north or south of the border.
Yeah.
Okay, now don't forget to go try Follow Up Boss so that your business can continue to expand in professionalism, and then you can meet some more crazy people yourself. I really appreciate Follow Up Boss sponsoring this episode, but mainly I appreciate them for giving y'all double the free trial time with no credit card required. So make sure you go to followupboss.com/crazy and then let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next time. As always, I'm so super thrilled that you joined in for more crazy shit. And if you're a realtor, investor, inspector, lender, or just a regular human being who happens to have an unbelievable story that you need to tell the world about, or frankly, you just need to one-up the story you just heard, then make sure to DM me on Instagram at Leigh Thomas Brown, or tweet me at Leigh Brown, or frankly, any social network where you hang out. I'm there. And if you had some fun, then you totally want to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.